Hey, thanks, Alan. We are live here at the Farm Progress Show, and we're here at Farm Credit Services tent. We're having a lot of fun with the FFAers as they come through today. We'll be talking to some of those chapters, and also here representing First Farm Credit, Matt Ginder, and Tom Tracy representing Farm Credit Services of Illinois, Senior VP. And Tom, we were just talking, I think we sat down about a year ago in Mahomet, and we talked about the crop conditions. How do the crops compare right now to those of last year?
Well, when we talked last year, it was a lot more difficult conditions. Now, it's been drying up on us here over the last few weeks, but, as a general rule, the crops this year look real good compared to last year. We're expecting quite a bit more grain to be harvested, so in general, it's a much better year.
Much better year, and I guess overall, we're going to ask Matt to tell us a little bit about the farm credit system. Basically explain to us a little bit about how, Illinois fits into the farm credit system.
Okay. Well, there are two associations, what we would call associations in the state of Illinois, of course, First Farm Credit to the north and Farm Credit Services of Illinois to the south. And if you look at the farm credit system, it's a nationwide system of locally owned and managed cooperatives. So we've got the cooperative structure, and then we leverage that scale across the country to kind of roll up our financing and funding needs. And we do that through the funding corporation out on Wall Street. So it's a way that we have access to very reasonable and affordable funds, and that we have the scale that we need. If you look at the two associations in Illinois, we'd represent, I believe, the 12th and 13th largest farm credit associations throughout the country, and I think that's a total of about 82, 83 associations nationwide.
And as we talked a little bit about that, Tom, you guys represent the southern 60 counties.
Yes, we do. We serve the southern 60 counties. We would be the 13th largest association cooperative in the country for farm credit, with First Farm Credit being the 12th largest.
Tell us about, we talked about 2012 and the drought. Talk about the impact that drought had on Illinois. I don't know which one of you want to field that question. But Matt, if you want to take that question, how did the drought impact Illinois and the ag economy?
Well, it's really remarkable when we look back at the effects of the drought of 2012. I think we'd had a few good years stacked on top of each other prior to that, and our farmers did a great job from a financial management perspective of kind of building their balance sheet, building their working capital, being well positioned when that drought did hit. And then another key for us was crop insurance. Crop insurance was just huge. Just a couple of really quick stats on what crop insurance did in our territory, in our northern 42 counties. We had over $1.1 billion of claim payments in our 42 counties. And so if you pump that kind of money into not only to our farmers' operations, but into the rural economy in northern Illinois, it just had a tremendous impact. And crop insurance performed like it was supposed to. If you look at the drought monitor, the drought map from last year that a lot of people are familiar with, and you overlay that over where the indemnity payments were made, it just fits together perfectly. So the areas that were the hardest hit is where the claims were paid. And so crop insurance from that standpoint worked exactly like it was supposed to.
I know, Tom, we talked a lot about your family farm, and if crop insurance was not around in 2012, there were probably a lot of those family farms that would not be around today in 2013.
Yeah, in our 60 counties, we had approximately 5,000 policies, and we had approximately 5,000 claims. So that kind of speaks volumes about how hard our state was hit, our region was hit, and absolutely, we saw crop insurance do exactly what it was designed to do. We really should applaud, we don't say this very often, but we really should applaud our legislators for putting in place such an effective program, because it did what it was designed to do, and it supported rural America in our time of need after many years of paying premiums in when we didn't have the need.
So do you guys feel, and do you, Matt, feel that for the foreseeable future that the crop insurance plan that we see will be in place at least through 2014?
Well, I think, indications are that our government does want to continue to provide a strong and effective safety net for farmers. What shape and fashion that will take is still kind of up for debate, and I think it will be up for debate, unfortunately, maybe almost as frequently as annually. It's a topic of conversation, and with the general economy and with the state of our government in general and the deficit that we're running, they're looking for any place that they can to try to cut spending, and with fewer and fewer people being associated with farms and living on farms and having farm or ag representation in government these days, it's incredibly important that we have a strong voice and that we can tell the story of what a program like crop insurance did for us in the drought of 2012.
You agree with that?
I completely agree with that. It's the 2012 was exactly what the program was designed to do, and it performed exceptionally well.
Talk more about the farm credit system. What would you like our listeners to know about your system today?
Well, something that I touched on earlier, I think we don't always get the message across that we are a system of cooperatives, of locally owned and locally managed cooperatives. I think that's part of the strength of our system because not only do we have the national scale that we can bring to market and gain efficiencies through that national scale, but that local ownership provides basically local representation and a focus on the local marketplace. And so in situations where there are different issues in the northern 42 counties than maybe what's affecting the southern 60 counties, we can respond differently, and we can really be proactive, and we can be attentive to our farmers in our territory.
Yeah, I would just agree with Matt's comments. We're managed by a board that are primarily farmers that farm in the counties which we serve. So you really can't have much better input than to have farmers at the helm. And our board does a wonderful job of bringing the issues that are commonplace and current in their counties back to the table for the management group.
We're live at the Farm Progress Show 2013 with the crew from Farm Credit, both First Farm Credit and Farm Credit Services of Illinois. And Tom, we made mention of your family story, and that's what really it's all about. I know you guys have talked to many of you over the years, and you have a similar story. You all came from that strong farm background.
Yeah, I mean, as a general rule, it's a generalization, but by far the preponderance of the staff in both of the farm credits here in Illinois, they either grew up on the farm or maybe are 1 degree removed from the farm, grew up at least in some capacity working on the farm. So they have a real connection to agriculture. Many of us, one of the beauties of working for Farm Credit, one of the things we hold most dear is that it allows us to stay connected to agriculture and kind of feed that passion that we all have. You know, there isn't a lot of room on the farm for everyone, but there certainly is other avenues that can keep you attached to agriculture.
Again?
Yes, and I've got a very similar background to Tom. My family farms in Sangamon County. I'm still involved with that farm operation, so grew up on a farm, still involved with that. And it is a great way to stay active and engaged with agriculture, and we're similar as an organization to FCS of Illinois. The majority of our team members do come from a farm background, and several still have involvement in farming operations.
So what's great? What are you going to make sure? I know you'll be busy here talking to customers and visiting, but what about here at the show site? What are you interested in seeing?
Well, I always like to go and look at the new paint. You know, I'm constantly amazed by the size and capability of the equipment that's out there. I mean, that's probably what everybody says, and I'm showing off maybe my male characteristics there, but I just can't get enough of that.
And for you?
I'm interested in technology, just the advances in technology and how that relates to agriculture and just the amazing things that can be done to utilize and leverage technology to make our farms and our farming operations more efficient, more productive.
Alan, again, we're here with Tom Tracy and Matt Ginder, First Farm Credit and Farm Credit Services of Illinois, inviting those listeners to come by today and tomorrow and Thursday. What will they find out if they come through the Farm Credit tent?
Well, we've got a lot of Farm Credit staff here. They probably are familiar. Many of their loan officers, local staff from their office are here. Really what we're hoping to do is just provide a place where they can stop off, cool off, maybe hear some good music, visit with some of their friends from Farm Credit.
Matt, when are your customers going to start rolling in the fields in your part of the state?
Well, with the early rains that we had and some planning difficulties, for the most part, we'll be a little bit later. It'll probably be looking at mid-October to late October, but we had kind of an inverted growing season this year up in the northern part of our territory, up in the northwestern corner. They didn't get the heavy rains early, and they were actually ahead as far as when they got everything planted. So we might see a little earlier activity in the northwestern corner than what we see in north central and central Illinois.
And for you guys?
Yeah, as a general rule, we're going to be in a little bit later. I think it's interesting to see where this bean crop's going to come now. We've not had the heat that we've wanted. Now, I guess we're blessed with it today. As a general rule, it's going to be a later crop. It's going to be a bigger crop. It's going to take longer to get out. But that's where we're at.
And I guess one more thing here, because we're going to be over with you guys on the 13th of September, I think, because we're going to focus on farm safety. Oh, right. And that is something that you guys always work hard at promoting. It's one of your biggest messages during harvest, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We both are very active around Farm Safety Week. We do Meals in the Field program throughout the week. This year's going to be a lot different than last year. There's going to be some really long hours involved in bringing this crop in. And we always stress that, to be safe on the farm, think about it, stay rested, stay hydrated. It's still one of the most dangerous professions in the country, and we just want to give a reminder for everyone to be cognizant of that. There aren't a lot of farm families out there, and we sure do want to keep them safe.
Matt, same kind of messages?
Exactly. Safety is key and is paramount for us. As Tom mentioned, we'll have a lot of our farmers, a lot of our client owners will be putting in long hours, so fatigue will set in. So we want everybody to be careful, and we want those non-farm families, too, to be aware of their surroundings this time of year, especially on the roads and as equipment is transported and everything.
Thanks, guys. Alan, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more specifically about crop insurance and some new products being offered by Farm Credit.